Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kimberly Slater with ASID PA East and Fessenden Hall. Thank you for joining our chapter sponsor webinar today. We will get started right at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're just allowing a few minutes for everyone to have the ability to log on and be present when we start right at the top of the hour. So just if you bear with us for a minute or two, we will get this started for you. Just as a reminder, we will note in a minute, but you can use the Q&A portion for any questions during the presentation versus the chat, please. And we will be recording this webinar thanks to Wilsonar, and we will be posting it on our YouTube channel in the next few days. So if you'd like to view it again, we will have that ability. So again, thank you to Fessenden Hall and Wilsonar, and we will get started right at 1 o'clock. Okay. So again, good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Slater. I am the Director of Communications for ASID PA East. I am also a specification representative for Fessenden Hall, so that's my dual background today. I am joined with Jake from Wilsonar and Robert Schaefer from Fessenden Hall. This is our chapter sponsor webinar, a part of our chapter's 2020 Professional Development Webinar Series. And today we will be presenting Wetwall, a brand new product from Wilsonar, and Fessenden Hall is the distributor in New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, and Delaware for Wilsonar. And if you are not familiar with ASID and you're joining us today, we are the oldest and largest and only interior design organization where its members encompassed all aspects of interior design, both commercial, residential. And we'd also like to thank our chapter sponsors. With their support, we are able to maintain these programs for you throughout the year. That includes Bright Light Design Center, Fessenden Hall, Kravitt, Hunter Douglas, Kiefers, Benjamin Moore, and Dow Tile. So thank you to our sponsors. And we'd also like to note that Fessenden Hall has just become a sponsor of ASID New Jersey. So thank you to those members of that chapter joining us as well. And we would also like to note another webinar in a professional development series. It's industry partners behind the samples. So you get to touch base with some of your favorite industry partner representatives, learn why they are the invaluable resource to you and how they became a rep and where they got their start. And that will be on January 26th. So please register for that. You can find that on all our social media channels. Again, questions during the presentation, please use the Q&A feature, not the chat. We will monitor that. Please feel free to ask any questions throughout the presentation that Jake is giving to you, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation just for consistency. So again, we're starting today with our chapter sponsor webinar from Fessenden Hall. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Robert Schaefer, Product Manager at Fessenden Hall.
Good morning, Kimberly, and good morning, attendees. We appreciate the time that you're giving us today. I am the Wilsonar Product Manager and Wetwall Manager for Fessenden Hall. And today, joining us is Jake Lyro. He is the National Sales Manager for Wetwall, and I am going to turn it over to Jake. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Good afternoon. As Kimberly and Bob have mentioned, we will be talking about Wetwall, the ultimate waterproof surface. Next slide, please. Today, we're going to go over why Wetwall and what makes Wetwall win within a wet space. We'll talk about the panels and the configurations that you can do with these panels, and then we'll open it up for questions at the very end. We're going to keep this to about 15 to 20 minutes, and then afterwards, what we'll do is we'll have a question and answer, and I also have some other images just in case you need more images for the answers. Next slide, please. Give me 1 second. I'm having an issue right now. 1 second.
We'll be with you in 1 second. Jake was just having an issue, so we apologize. And
sorry about that. Technical issues. So we're truly excited today to bring you more information about Wetwall. The thing is, Wetwall is new to the United States, but it's not new to Wilsonart. In fact, since 2016, Wilsonart has made a series of purchases for companies in the UK and in the EU regarding this type of product. We've taken what they've learned over the years that they've been selling and manufacturing this product and brought it here in the States. We're seeing now that the design team, similar to what y'all are doing, are seeing this more and more as an application that fits perfectly for what you're doing. Also, if you start looking at the competitive products, you'll see that tile and the other wall panels are getting larger and larger and larger. So this fits perfectly into the design palette. Overall, Wilsonart is truly excited to bring Wetwall to the marketplace, and we're glad that Fessenden Hall is working with us to get it to you faster. Next slide, please. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on these 5 value propositions of why Wetwall and what makes Wetwall win within the wet space. First one is fashion and inspiration. Wilsonart is a fashion company. Look at our high pressure decorative laminate and those beautiful sheets that we bring into the market on a regular basis. Look at our virtual design library and even our Wilsonart by You custom laminate. Look at our slabs of quartz and solid surface. Wilsonart is on the leading edge of fashion when it comes to engineered surfaces, and we're bringing that same fashion into the wet space. Next is performance. Our patented solution is unmatched by the competitive wall solutions and even tile. We'll break it down a little bit and give you a better understanding of what the product is. And then that leads us into the next value proposition, which is the ease of installation. Now, for me, that hits home because I'm a hands-on type of guy. And when I've been able to put this product into a standard bath and shower surround in a fraction of the time, I see what it can do for our installers and what it can do for you to bring your design into life. Next is the low cost of ownership. This works perfectly for the end user and what it means to them when it comes to a durable product that's long lasting, and it's relatively maintenance free and easy to clean if you do need to maintain it. And then lastly, we focus on the availability of the product. You know, great design is wonderful, but if you can't get the products in a reasonable amount of time, why even specify it? So we'll talk a little bit of the panels that we can make and the lead time that we're pushing out into the market now. So overall, we're going to break down each one of these 5 for the rest of the presentation. Next slide, please. So fashion and inspiration. As you see here, Wilsonart has launched 8 beautiful designs into the Wetwall product. Each one of these designs has been selected from a larger pool of designs fitting within 3 criteria. First one is they had to be a design that was going to be specified in the wet space. In fact, it had to be a design that customers wanted to use within the wet space. It needed to be luxurious, giving you that nice, luxurious look, but not for the price of luxury. The second criteria, and you'll learn a little bit more in the next slide, is it has to seam together when it comes to our tongue and groove system. These seams, as you're doing smaller panels for easy portability or installation, that tongue and groove seam has to come together where they virtually disappear or camouflage, and it gives you a contiguous look of the design. The last criteria that it needed to have is that it had to match with the existing bath decor that's in there now. You know, you look at Growy, you look at American Standard, you look at Delta, you look at Kohler, all of them have beautiful faucets and shower heads, but they all have their own slight twist when it comes to the colors for it. Every one of our designs looks fantastic, which each one of those finishes. We wanted to make sure that our whole portfolio will match the existing bath finishes within this space. Overall, after we narrowed it down, we fell on these 8 designs and they reached so many different decors. We have a solid design for that nice, clean, industrial look. We brought in staccato, which is the second one on the top row, which is more along the lines of an abstract look, which looks perfectly in some of your newer age type buildings. We brought in several stone designs, some that replicate a limestone or even concrete, others that are granite looks. We brought in some marble looks, one on a Calcutta side for a Calcutta Statutorio, and then also our Tyrone marble. And finally, we're able to bring in a wood look. But the best thing about it is not only does it look like wood, it actually has a wood grain texture to it, giving you the look and feel of real wood, but in a waterproof panel system. Overall, these 8 designs have been widely accepted by the design community, and a lot of them are being specified right now for future jobs. Next slide, please. Moving on to the performance of the product, we're focused on a patented panel system that nobody else can have. In fact, we have 3 patents throughout the entire world focused on this type of solution. Now, when it comes to our patent, we break it down into 3 key aspects. The first one is our core. We are utilizing a wood plastic composite core to bond our high pressure deck of laminate to the face and on the back for balancing. This core is again a wood plastic composite. It's similar to your Trex decking that you'll find in the outdoor space made for decks. Big difference is Trex is a very, very dense product. It needs to be dense because you're using screws to hold it down. Our core, our WPC, is not as dense as Trex decking, which means that it's a lighter panel. We're using a panel adhesive to bond it to the various substrates. So a lighter panel means easier to install, easier to handle, and it's easier to manipulate and cut down during the installation process. If you look at it too, our panels are approximately 1.65 pounds per square foot. When you compare it to tile or some of the other competitive products in the wet space, we're a fraction of the weight, meaning the installation will be a lot easier than those competitive products. The next attribute that gives us our patented solution is our innovative tongue and groove system. We have specific cutters designed for our wet wall panels in order to give it a tongue and groove system. This works great when you want to break up larger panels to smaller, easier to manage panels, or if you have a specification where you want to cover a ton of wall space, like a wall cladding, you can do it easily together with our tongue and groove. Also, what works best about it, with our designs, when the tongue and groove comes together, the seam virtually disappears. All 8 of our designs works beautifully together with the tongue and groove. And in fact, our designs can even be mixed and matched together because of this tongue and groove. For example, we have 2 of our designs coming together perfectly. The last of our patented system is our beautiful bullnose edge. What this is a nice round over edge, which eliminates the need for any additional edge treatments, trims, caps, any additional parts that you need to finish off a panel. You can have a run of your tongue and groove systems, and then you can have this bullnose edge to finish it out to give you a nice, beautiful finish. Next slide, please. On all 8 of our designs, standard, we have our antimicrobial protection. We're utilizing our silver ion technology, which then inhibits the growth of stain and odor-causing bacteria, mold, mildew on the decorative surfaces. Along with our antimicrobial protection, we also have Wilson Art's Eon scratch and scuff resistance on all 8 of our designs as standard. This gives you a more durable product within the wet space to be able to handle those years and years of cleaning. And then finally, the entire package is wrapped together in a waterproof system. Give you a quick example of the waterproofness of it. So here I've cut a smaller sample of one of our patterns into a 2-inch by 3-inch piece to fit in my mason jar. This one's been soaking now for about 2 months. Now, if you're familiar with wood, you'll notice that whenever wood gets wet, it will swell. So what I'm using here to demonstrate the piece is a tongue piece of Wetwall. If this was to swell, this tongue piece would not fit into the dry groove piece. Now, dry groove, wet tongue, watch them come together beautifully. Fix that so it's nice and flush at the bottom. I know it drives a lot of people crazy. So as you can see, the tongue and groove come together even if one has been soaking in water. All in all, it's a complete patented waterproof wall panel system. Next slide, please. My personal favorite, Kimberly, sorry. The ease of installation. As I said, this is my personal favorite. What I love about it is that it is easy to install and it's easy to be cut with standard woodworking tools while you're on the job site. This means that your installers do not have to go out and have any kind of specialized tooling or invest in that specialized tooling to be able to cut the panels to fit within the space. What I also love about it is that Wetwall can go over a number of substrates. The only thing we say do not do is go direct to stud, but you can go over your standard gypsum board, your water resistant gypsum board, fiberboard, plaster, your cement backer board. All of those are approved substrates for Wetwall to go over. Heck, when it comes to remodeling, we can even go over tile. Now, I'll throw a little asterisk by there, a little caveat. You're only as good as the substrate you're bonding to. So if you have some tile that's falling off the wall or there's a bunch of them missing, this isn't going to be some kind of magical solution to have your tile stick, okay? So make sure you're as good as the substrate that you're bonding to. And overall, we offer our panel adhesive and color match sealants to finish the entire job. What we've done is we've taken the guesswork out of which construction adhesive can I use or which color sealant do I need to finish up my job. We provide that with all the panels so you know that you're getting a complete and correct bond each and every time. Next slide, please. Now, for the low cost of ownership, think back to all those times you specified high pressure decorative laminate in a countertop setting, how easy it is to clean, how durable it is. Take that same product, that same attributes, and put it on a vertical surface. Also, eliminate any grout lines that you'll find for the competitive products, okay? Wetwall does not have grout lines. Grout lines are the biggest source of water intrusion or overall dingy, dirty looking of designs. Without grout lines, that means you do not have to invest in that extensive and expensive maintenance to keep them looking as fresh as they did the first day they were put in there. Wetwall panels are easy to clean. In fact, again, the same products that you're using to clean your countertops can work perfectly for your Wetwall panels. In fact, oftentimes just warm soapy water on a sponge or a rag with a regular maintenance cycle will keep these panels looking as beautiful as the first day they were installed. Now, if you had some time and you don't keep up with your regular maintenance schedule or if life gets in the way, you can use your standard household cleaners that you can find underneath your cabinets, like your Tilex, your Spick and Span, even scrubbing bubbles. Overall, it's very easy and very durable to maintain. Next slide, please. Our last value proposition that we're going to focus on is the actual, hey, go back one more, you skipped one.
Sorry, it's where it's skipping.
Yeah, no, you're good.
It's a large file, everybody. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, it's because those beautiful images. The last value proposition is focused on the availability. We have built a plant here in Temple, Texas, about 2 miles away from our high pressure decorative laminate plant. We are boasting a 7-day lead time when it comes to the panels if it's not stocked within Fessenden Hall's inventory. And these panels, they can range as small as 8 inches all the way up to 60 inches wide and in heights of 60, 72, and 96. These panels can also have any of the edge configurations that we talked about. So you can have a bullnose edge on one and a tongue on the other. Now, if you call us and say, hey, Fessenden Hall, hey, Wilson Art, I need to get a special panel that's 8 inches wide and double bullnose on both sides by 60 inches high, we'll be able to get that done for you on that 7-day manufacturing lead time. That's also along with all the inventory Fessenden Hall has readily available today. When it comes to the inventory and when it comes to the panel configurations, next slide, please. We have a number of panel configurations that work together and separately to create the space that you want. First 4 are for your standard wet wall or shower and bath surrounds. The first one is your beautiful bullnose edge with that flat edge. That works great for your wing walls or the walls jutting out from the back soap dish wall. The next 2, those are smaller, say 30 or smaller inch smaller panels that can be tongue and grooved and seamed together, again, for portability and for the ease of installation. Now, if you have a space that you want a larger panel that has a contiguous design through and through, and you have the manpower to install it, we can do a full flat edge panel to put in that same space. When it comes to some of the more made to order panel configurations to cover even more than your bath and shower surround, we have our tongue and groove. Similar to what you find in flooring, you can continue to snap these together and cover even more of the wall. Now, once you get to the end of that run, we have the next 2, which we call our finishing panels. This is the tongue and or the groove with that bullnose edge. This gives you that nice ending to that panel without the need for any additional edge treatments, caps, or additional parts. Or if you wanted to design a space that has a cloth foot tub that you've had your eye on and you want a background or a wall behind it as a feature wall, we can even put a double bullnose edge on it at 60 inches wide, so it gives you a nice, beautiful background. All in all, these panels are you can use these panels in a multiple of ways. Next slide, please. When I look at these panels, I think of Legos. These can easily be snapped together to create even more outside of your wet wall area. As you look at this one, you'll see as an eagle-eye view top down of the bath and standard shower surround. Adding a few more additional panels, you can cover the entire space on either side of the wing walls even, so you can have your toilet or a vanity on the other side with it. Heck, this picture behind me does a perfect explanation of using these standard panels to cover not only the bath and shower, but also the vanity and behind me. Now, I know some of y'all might be yelling at me that my water's been running the whole time, but that's okay. We're on well, so we're just, pumping it out as we need to. Next slide, please. These panels also work when it comes for customization on making the space your own. On this image here, you can see that we've used multiple tongue and groove panels being snapped together to cover that entire wall. When it came to the end closest to the window, we're utilizing one of those finishing panels, so it gives you that nice round over bullnose edge. Snap another one of those wing wall panels on the edge and you can cover the inside of the window too, giving you an outside corner utilizing these panels. These panels are awesome for both standard and customization within the space you're designing for. Next slide. Overall, if I haven't said it enough, I'm truly excited to bring this product to market. There's an unlimited amount of what we can do with this product. Thank you again for joining us today, and thank you again for Fez Hall for putting this together. Now, we'll open it up for questions.
Okay. And Jake, we have a bunch of questions, and we also have the full view of the designs. Do we want to do the full view of the designs real quick?
Let's go through the questions,
Okay.
and if there's any regarding the designs, we can easily snap through those.
Okay, great. So first question is Love. Where are the showrooms or distribution centers to see in New Jersey?
Kimberly,
So-
I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So I just want to update everyone in terms of the Wetwall product and the distribution for Fessenden Hall. Yesterday, we received most of our sample shipment. Last week, we received and inventoried our entire order of Wetwall in our Lancaster branch, which will service our entire marketing area. We are in the process right now of setting up showrooms. We do have a few already in New Jersey, although the installations are not finished yet. So as far as showrooms are concerned, Kimberly, let's make sure that we can send an email back to our attendee, and we'll get you several that you'll be able to view the product.
Sounds good. Okay. The next question is, with the tongue and groove, won't water get behind the panel?
Oh, that is a great question. It's usually a concern. The way we address it is, as your tongue and groove panels are coming together, our installation instructions mentions that you use a bead of our color match sealant on the tongue itself. What happens then is, as you snap these two panels together, that color match sealant, A, bonds the two panels together, and B, provides you a watertight solution.
Okay, great, thank you. And we do have a little video at the end of the installation just for everybody to see and get a little bit better sense of that. The next question is, what happens at an interior and an exterior corner?
Perfect. All right, I have another little demonstration for it. So here, what you see is a mini mock-up of a standard bath and shower surround. You have your wing walls and your back walls. For the inside corners, you're going to have a butt joint that butts it up against. Your wing wall will be butting into your actual back wall. Then you will fill the inside corner with our color match sealant, giving it that waterproof edge. For outside corners, what we suggest is taking the bullnose edge and butting up another flat panel to it. In essence, it will look similar to that. Now, I don't have the sealant, but when you apply the sealant to the outside corner, it blends in beautifully. Okay.
Okay, great. And our next question is, how do you accommodate shower niches?
All right, so there's several ways to go about shower niches or storage within the bath space. First off, any aftermarket OEM glue-in niches can be used with our product. Say, for example, you have a hollow or a spot behind the wet wall panel between the two studs. You can cut out the same size as your glue-in niche, as long as you're rounding out the corners to 1/8 of an inch or greater, following our recommended installation instructions, and then using our panel adhesive and our color match sealant, finish it off. Kimberly, can I take the controls real quick and show a quick example of that?
Stop share right there for you.
All right, so we actually have several installations showing these aftermarket glue-in niches. So what you see here, this is for a vignette that we put in, oh, you're not seeing, there you go. This is for a vignette that we put into a showroom down in San Antonio, Texas. They had that hollow spot in between the two studs that they wanted to do a niche or storage, okay? They cut it out right to the inside of the panel and then used the panel adhesive to glue the flange against the wet wall panel, and then finished it up with the color match sealant. Not only can you use those, you can actually marry it with tile. This customer here wanted to use this particular tile design as a feature part of their bathroom. So the installer went through, created a custom niche, and then added these pieces of tile in here and then finished stuff all around it. There's also aftermarket glue-in niches of solid surface or acrylic or other types of form that works in the same form and fashion. Now, what else can happen is what you see here. This is the first stage of actually using Wetwall as a niche itself. So they cut out the hollow point here. And what they've done is they've taken some of the smaller bullnose panels and they'll actually fill it on the inside, the outside edges, and then on the back panel itself. Because you can use standard woodworking tools, you can put that 90-degree miter in there to make it flow and look beautiful together. I got another example of that right here, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so you can see my image. So here's a bullnose edge that we put a 90-degree miter on. Here's another bullnose edge with another 90-degree miter. You can see how they come together without disappearing. Nice and beautiful. Finish that inside edge with your color match sealant and it blends in beautifully together. Okay, so wide variety of options for storage or niches.
And Jake, can you mention how the flat edges on an exterior or even within the niche, how you can integrate a Schlitter trim and those accessories?
So, great question and great comment. So an example of what Kimberly is mentioning is being able to use the Schlitter strips for maybe a high traffic area where you want that extra protection. I'm going to share my screen again and show you what we've done in this installation. What you're seeing here is the commercial installation of Wetwall panels over tile. This was completed in the summer of 2020 in a middle school up in the Boston area, okay? What they ended up doing is using our Wetwall panels and our panel adhesive to go over the existing tile that was in there. They were concerned about when they ripped out the tile, what they would find, not only in the tile itself, but you know, some of the building materials that were used back in the 50s and 60s are questionable now, to say the least. Okay, so they ended up using our Wetwall panels, but they opted to do Schlitter strips where the two panels meet and at the bottom because they knew this was going to be a locker room. This is where middle school age kids will be coming in with sporting equipment, football pads, helmets, lacrosse sticks, whatever, you know, whatever sport that they're playing. So they needed something that would be able to withstand it. So it works great either by itself or with some of those products, those additional products.
Okay, next question. Are sample sets available? And Bob, you and I can answer that.
Right now, what we have, Kimberly, the 12 by 12s arrived yesterday in Lancaster. We have 5 by 8s. Now, these are not packaged in a decorative box at this point, but the samples do show the bullnose and the cut edges. And then we have some coming in by next week that will show tongue and groove, and you would be able to simulate a completed wall with a bullnose, a tongue, a groove, a tongue, a groove, and another bullnose. And that way you get an opportunity in 36 inches to see how a wall finishes out if you're planning on doing, say, wainscoting or something of that nature. Those samples all arrive next week. We do have some 5 by 8s right now, and we do have some 12 by 12s. We just don't have packaged boxes. So at this point, they are loose samples.
Great. And I have put my email, wearing my Fessenden Hall hat right now, I have put my email in the chat. I cover all of New Jersey for the A&D community and for kitchen and bath right now. And I cover part of Center City for A&D for Philadelphia. If you are interested, I can get you to the correct Fessenden Hall representative, which is either Bryant Parent or Genevieve Wadica, and I will get you to them if you're in Pennsylvania. So my email is in the chat, so please feel free to copy that for yourselves, and we can get you some more information after the webinar. So back to questions. Okay, they were both about samples, so I'll answer those. Okay. And this is a great question. What specification section does this fall into? I can't wait to use it.
Awesome. I love the can't wait to use it. As far as the specification section, I'll have to refer to our 3-part spec as where to actually find it. I'll share my screen right now, so maybe this explains it a little bit more. But based off of what we've seen, it would go into section 1, section 6, section 9, and even section 10.
Okay. Great.
And I'll leave this up a little bit.
There is another question. Is it possible to create a shelf with this material?
So this material is 11 millimeters thick, or just under ½ inch. This is not a structurally supportive material within itself. You can't really put in screws to hold it together. Ideally, there is aftermarket glue-in shelves or screw-in shelves that you can use in lieu of this. This is a common question that we are getting, and our product manager is actually evaluating the accessories and storage for a future potential launch.
Okay, great. So no more questions at the moment. So why don't we go to where I showed the, oh, gotta go from.
There you go. It's on back on you.
Okay, there we go. Large screen. The fun of double sharing screens during these presentations. Okay, so here we go through some of the designs. So these are going to be the 8 Pro designs that Fessenden Hall will be stocking and distributing.
We have them in stock now, Kimberly.
Okay, we're in stock.
We're in stock.
Yeah.
So first one is our Aria White. You know, this is your solid white look, and it's featuring the Wilson Art 18 finish on it. So it gives you that nice linear high-low texture to it.
It's one of the more popular textures, definitely.
Correct. Staccato is the same thing. This is a white background. The screen's not doing it justice. It's actually a white background instead of a cream color that it looks here with gray converging lines. It's a beautiful abstract design that works with a wide variety of decors. It too features the Wilson Art 18 finish. Tyrone marble. This is becoming one of our most specified in both regional and national builders. It's a white background with smaller, more compact veining, marble veining throughout. This features the Wilson Art 7 finish, so it gives you that matte gloss type look to it, and it is gorgeous, one of my favorites. Tahiti Sands, this is more of our universal type design. Not only can it represent a stone like a limestone, but it's also can be construed as a concrete for that more industrial look. That middle school that I showed, that was the design that this one used. So it's kind of very well versed for multiple decors. Kazinza, this is more along the lines of your traditional stone look. You'll see this in more traditional markets to where the aging community wants to keep that stone look within their bath and shower space. Calcutta. This is our #1. This is the most wow you get out of it. It is that white background with those nice, beautiful, dark gray, black veins through and through. Majority of the install pictures that I had up there, if you've seen on the little menu on the side, that's where it's coming from, because customers are loving this design, especially that luxury look, but not at the price of that luxury that you'll find with real stone or the weight.
It's coming.
That's all right.
There we go.
Arezzo. Arezzo is another stone look. It's a little bit darker, a little bit heavier. What I like about it too is that this color actually goes very well with our Aria White. One of the things about Wetwall is that you can actually mix and match the colors. If you wanted to, this could be your back wall, and then you have the lighter white panels of the Aria White to balance out the look. And then again, my favorite, the Legacy Ash, that beautiful spa-like wood grain look, with the Wilson Art 12 finish giving you that wood grain finish to it. So not only does it look, but it feels like real wood in a waterproof panel system for a beautiful, beautiful application.
Okay. And before we get to the video, there is a question. Is the Calcutta patterning the same in every sheet?
So it is not. In fact, depending on the panels themselves, we might be bonding a 5 foot by 12-inch sheet of that Calcutta and then quartering it down into the specific sizes. Overall, there could be the hint of the repeat, but it's not going to be the same sheet to sheet to sheet.
Okay, great. And there was a question about sampling of any previous Wilson Art materials. So please just, my email, KimberlySlater@fessendenhall.com is in the chat, and you can use that to contact me, and we'll get you the appropriate representatives so they can get you updated as well. Wetwall is so brand new. As we said, Fessenden Hall just received the stock of it. So if it's any other information, we can definitely touch base with you. So we're going to go next to the installation video. And this is coming via YouTube. So just make sure that, let me know this is going okay. Okay. Are you seeing the YouTube screen?
Okay.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me stop share. Okay. Are we seeing it now?
There we go.
Okay. Let me just go back to the beginning of it a second. And there's not really good audio on this, as we know, but Jake can talk along with this while going.
So what we're doing is we're doing an installation for your standard shower and bath surround. When it comes to the part where our wet wall panels are installed, it's usually after the base has been put in. You want to dry fit the panels before time. So this gives you just enough time to basically measure twice, cut once. So as you can see here, they're using a 2-part or a tongue and groove for the back wall itself because of the ease of portability and the installation. Now, as I said, when it comes to cutting in the field, your standard woodworking tools work perfectly. Your installer or fabricator can follow some simple instructions that we have with each and every one of them and to cut each of these panels perfectly each time. When it comes to like what we're doing here for the plumbing locations, relatively easy to use a hole saw or even a jigsaw to cut out for those plumbing locations. Always want to make sure that the back of the panel is clean because that's where we will be applying our panel adhesive to bond it to the wall. We have a distinct pattern to put the panel adhesive on. We usually do one vertical stripe on the top and on the bottom, and then several horizontal stripes about 12 inches apart. This makes sure that we're getting even coverage throughout the entire panel. In this one, we put the groove panel in first because it will be a lot easier to walk the tongue panel in after the fact. As you saw in the image, they left for a small 1/8 of an inch gap between the deck of the tower or tub, and then they put the panel on top of that. They'll fill that in with the color match sealant afterwards. So Donna, to your question about the tongue and groove coming together, you saw how they put it together using the panel or the color match sealant. Overall, when it comes to the installation, we've done some time studies based off of this setup and several others. We're finding on average an average installer can install these in about 2.5 hours, and that's the full installation with those cuts and with the holes for the faucet or the shower head or the tub filler itself. When you compare it to a tile installation, you're there for 2, at least 3 days. 1 day to put the tile down, wait for the thin set to dry, next day to put the grout down, wait for the grout to dry, and then coming back that third day to make sure that you waterproof the grout, because grout is not waterproof, so you have to waterproof it. Overall, quick, easy installation when it comes to your standard bath and shower surrounds. Kimberly, you're muted.
Oh, hold on one second.
No,
There
we
you
got
are.
you now.
Okay. Closing out the YouTube channel. Sorry about that. So with what we just talked about, we did see a 3-panel shower there. At the top, it looked like the panel was not to the ceiling. So the question is, how would you finish that?
So there's several ways to go about it. Usually when it doesn't go all the way to the ceiling, a lot of the times it's outside of eye line, so they will leave it raw. Other times they will use our color matte sealant and finish off the top of that. Sometimes if you have to go through and it just drives you crazy, you can use one of those Schluter systems to cap it off at the top. So there's multiple ways to go about it. What we found is that now that customers, now that designers see that it's easy to get a 96-inch panel that goes from floor to ceiling, that's what they put in. They want to have that entire elongated space to make it even bigger. We had the same questions when we start building out inventory. How tall are we going to make this? How are we going to address it? But what we're finding in sales is they're going from floor to ceiling for that nice monolithic look.
Okay. And the last question I can see is, does this work with a custom tile shower pan?
It does. In fact, that's the beauty of Wetwall. We can go over your standard tub and shower pans or your custom ones, whether it's using one of those ones that come in a preform that you tile on top of, like Tile Ready or Easy Tile type pans, or if they're building it on the foundation and they do the slope that you need to drain the water, we can do it on top of that. We've seen installations and applications for all of those, and our panels work perfectly for it.
Great. Okay, I don't see any other questions at the moment. So if there are no other questions, I'd like, on behalf of ASID PA East, to thank Jake and Wilsonart. Wilsonart is a national ASID sponsor. So we thank Jake for his time and Wilsonart for his time. On behalf of ASID PA East, I'd like to thank Mr. Robert Schaefer, our product manager at Fessenden Hall. As I said, I'm wearing my hats today as Director of Communications for ASID, moderating these, and as a specification representative for Fessenden Hall. So if anybody does have questions, again, my email is in the chat and I will get you to the appropriate Fessenden Hall representative if you have any further questions. And again, thank you to Wilsonart, to Fessenden Hall. Fessenden Hall is a proud sponsor of both ASID PA East and now ASID New Jersey. So thank you, everyone. And please sign up for our next webinar, which will be in January. And this will be also on our YouTube in a few days. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you all.